I spoke with a lama earlier this week, and this was somebody that practices in the Dzogchen tradition of Buddhism. And I was curious about the way in which the Dzogchen pointing out technique works. For those not familiar, the idea is that in Dzogchen, you go to a master, you go to a lama, and they point to awakening. They point to enlightenment. They point to this opening of consciousness that is not in front of you, not behind you, not to the side, not above, not below, not even within, and not without either. It's everything and nothing of this. It is just existence itself. And I was curious about, I'd heard about this technique, and I was curious to speak with this Lama about how it's done. And what I took from our conversation was that it's really, there is a kind of psychic transference that happens, a kind of communication of consciousness that happens between one person and another. It's not communicated in words, it's not communicated in intellect, it's certainly not communicated by pointing a finger. The pointing is done through a transmission. And this is something that I've been curious about, because the first teacher that I kind of came upon when I just had my initial awakening experience was Saeed Khan. And I have an interview with him, earlier on in the history of my channel. And one of the ways that Saeed works with people is through these transmissions, these consciousness transmissions, as he calls them. And at first I wasn't quite sure what that was all about. But the more that I've kind of done this work, the more I've recognized and realized that there is a kind of link that can happen between one person and another, between one consciousness and another. And this link, once it is established, and I don't really claim to know how this works, but once this link is established, whether it's a subconscious thing, a kind of entrancement, a kind of dual hypnosis, I have no idea. But you feel it once it happens. There's a connection, a link, a being in presence with another person. And when this happens with somebody that I'm working with, I can sense what is going on in the other person's body. Even if they're over Zoom, even if it's online, I can sense what's going on in their body. I can pick up on if they are holding tension in their forehead or in their gut or in their shoulders. And sometimes this is slight visual cues. Sometimes I hear it in, it's the timbre of their voice and what all of these subtle nuances that tell my intuition, oh, there's some holding there. There's some tension there. There's some energy there. And feeling that arise in my body, it's almost like kind of a mirror is established. And I sense what's going on inside their body, inside their consciousness, and I can either ask them about what they're experiencing, or say, I'm feeling this right now. Is that, what is that about for you? How are you sensing the same thing? But even on a different level, once I sense that inside myself, I can, in moving that energy within my own body and within my own consciousness, I notice that it tends to move or open up for the other person as well. And I have a hypothesis that a lot of this has to do with the mind's mirror neurons, our ability to synchronize, to mirror one another. And this is one of the ways that we connect as social beings, not just to other human beings, but also to the world around us. It is a deep connection, physiological, neurological, to the animals, to the natural world around us. There's a connection that we can establish in this way. And what can happen, I've noticed, when this connection is established, there can be a opening, a transmission of consciousness from one person to another. And I've been on the receiving end of this, and it's this peculiar thing that happens when suddenly you just feel like, oh, wow, this person, they've got something. I just feel, just more open. My mind kind of just like expands just being in their presence. And it's something that when I first noticed it was actually with a Catholic priest that I was doing a podcast interview with years ago. I didn't know what it was. I had no framing for understanding what it was that he had, but I just could feel that this person was deep. There was some depth. There was something about them that was they engaged with me, they engaged with my questions on a level that was not up here. It was not the intellectual. It was something much more true. And I remember leaving that interview and I thought, I want that. I don't know what that is, but I want that. And what I've seen and experienced since then on my path and also in working with people, it's when this opening and this connection is established, you can bring somebody else to a much deeper, much broader kind of consciousness pretty quickly, because of this kind of resonance. A metaphor for this that I've heard is like two string instruments right next to each other. If you play one, or kind of like a violin or strum a guitar, the strings on the other instrument will start to vibrate and resonate at the same frequencies. And so this kind of metaphor, this kind of analogy, is kind of what happens between two people. The way that one person's consciousness is resonating, so to speak, if there is connection, if there is this link, it starts to resonate in a similar way in the other person. And so this is a really powerful way to make, to give people an experience that maybe they haven't been able to find through intellectual searching, through maybe even their own inner work or meditation. This is, I guess, the advantage of working with someone that is, quote unquote, more further along the path. It's difficult. I don't want to put too much hierarchy to this, because that's kind of it doesn't really. On the one hand, there is a further along the path, so to speak, and on another level, we're all fundamentally existing on the same level. So I don't want to put too much of a hierarchy in that kind of like too much mental hierarchy there. But there is that advantage to finding someone who you can sense that kind of presence with. Something opens up in us, something deepens in us, being in the presence of this kind of person. And so this transference, this transmission, this resonance, in the Dzogchen tradition, and I'm coming to find in many spiritual teachers, will intuitively use a similar kind of method, if you can even call it that. You can give someone an initial taste of what that kind of consciousness feels like. Of course, this is not a magic bullet, because when that person walks out of the room and goes away, suddenly you're left on your own. And the question becomes, can you then keep that consciousness open for yourself? How well can you be able to maintain that way of being, that state of openness, that state of presence? And that's where the real journey begins, the real personal inner work begins, is releasing all of the attachments that and distractions that might bring us out of this state, that might bring us back into focusing on ourselves, our survival, our comfort, or entertainment, and bring us out of this kind of connection, this kind of resonance, this kind of presence with whoever is in front of us, or whatever is coming up from inside of us or coming through us. So, I hope this is an introduction that kind of piques your curiosity, or maybe resonates with you, something that you have experienced yourself. If it is something you've experienced, I'd be curious to hear about it in the comments down below. And if you are curious about trying to, and experiencing something like this yourself, I have a link to consult with me in the description down below, so you can go and check that out. I hope to see you in the next video.